Hi everyone, I am here with a true story for you. This one has a hymn before it by Charles Wesley. Angels wherever we go attend, our steps whatever betide, with watchful care their charge defend, and evil turn aside. Did you guys like that one? This story is called Canine, Sentries. Nora doesn't want her real name used because I am still embarrassed at how naive I was. At that time, as a shy 18-year-old, she was caught up in a romantic dream. More than anything, I wanted a man in my life, she says. My best friend had just met someone special, and I longed for the same thing to happen to me. Nora lived with her older brother Mark, his wife, and their baby just outside the same Arkansas town because it was close to her job at the shoe factory. Sharing the house were 3 hounds, white with large black spots, which Mark trained for coon and quail hunting. The dogs were affectionate and rowdy, always jumping up on Nora, and she enjoyed playing with them. She babysat for her young nephew occasionally and attended church every Sunday. I believed in God and the Bible, she says. My mother always told me that if I ever get in trouble, I should ask God for help. Nora didn't anticipate trouble of any kind. In fact, that was the trouble. Although her life was pleasant, it seemed to be on hold. One day, a friend introduced Nora to a handsome young man. Nora liked Peter right away, and when he invited her out for a casual dinner, she gladly accepted. But during dinner, Peter made several suggestive comments, and Nora became apprehensive. She was relieved when he drove her back to her brother's house. By now it was dark, and there was a little lane leading past the house. Peter suggested he take a stroll before he left. Nora says I was hesitant, since I knew my sister-in-law and the baby had gone to her parents for the weekend, and my brother was out hunting. But it was a beautiful starry night. Peter held my hand, and despite misgivings, Nora's romantic dreams took over. However, she had made a mistake. Before they had traveled more than a few yards down the deserted path, Peter suddenly attacked Nora, pushing her to the ground. He was tremendously strong, and horrified Nora realized that she would be no match for him. Panic almost overwhelmed her, but then a thought flashed through her mind. God was watching her. He knew what was going on. He loved her, and he wouldn't desert her. Her mother had said so. God, help me, send help, Nora cried out as she struggled. God, please, it seemed hopeless. Peter was overpowering her, but Nora continued to pray aloud. Words that she wasn't even thinking about poured forth. God, help, help. Suddenly Nora felt a presence. Looking up, she gasped. Mark's 3 black and white hunting dogs outlined the moonlight, stood over them. Mark! Was he nearby? Had he heard her screams? But there wasn't a sound. His dogs would never leave his side, Nora knew. And these were definitely his dogs. She recognized their distinctive markings. But why had she not heard them approach? And why had they not barked and jumped up on her as they always did? Startled, Peter let her go. He stared at the dogs, and the dogs stared back. One barked once or twice, then quieted. The others stood mute, neither attacking nor retreating, but standing there, like sentries. It was almost, Nora thought, as if they understood what was going on, and were looking on in eerie disapproval. Peter got up and moved away. walking faster and faster as he headed back to his car. The dogs watched but stayed with Nora, encircling her. "You'll be all right now," they seemed to say. Shakingly, she rose to her feet. She was all right, except for her disillusionment. If it hadn't been for the dogs. Slowly, she started up the lane toward the house, looking back to see if they were following her, but now the lane was empty. They must have returned to Mark, but why hadn't he come to her? Several hours later, Mark finally pulled his truck into the driveway. Now the dogs were barking noisily, and when they saw Nora, they jumped out of the truck and leaped affectionately up on her. "Where have you been?" Nora asked Mark as she warmed up some food for him. "The dogs and I were coon hunting over in Finch tonight," Mark told her. "Finch? It was at least 15 miles away." "All night?" Nora asked, puzzled. "We left about the same time you did," Mark explained. "We've been up in the hills ever since. The dogs couldn't have covered a 15-mile stretch to be at her side." "Were the dogs with you the whole time?" Nora asked. "The whole time, just like always." "Then perhaps the animals she'd seen belonged to someone else." No, Nora knew every hound in the area, and none looked quite like Mark's. And what kind of dog would be so silent, so protective? Mark was looking at her curiously, but she would need some time to think before she could tell her brother, or anyone, about what she was beginning to believe. For if the dogs had rescued her were not Mark's or anyone else's, then where did they come from, and who had sent them? Who indeed? Today, Nora is married and the mother of 2, but she will never forget that night. "I think it was divine intervention," she says. "Angels do come in many forms." That's right, God sent them. Those were angel dogs. God sent them to protect her. She was calling out to God for help. And then those dogs were there, and they protected her, and that guy got away, didn't he? That's right, he took off, and she was safe. And when she was safe, the dogs were gone. God sent those dogs to protect her. Truly, truly believe that. Canine Sentries. I hope you guys enjoyed that true story, and I hope you guys have a great night. Good night, guys.